Hello everybody, welcome back to Quali-Tea time, and oh boy has it been one hell of a week. So let's start with some updates from stories last week. The job hunt continues, and there is no end in sight. For those of you who forget or didn't know this, it took me a year of unemployment to end up here. So yeah, I'm still looking for jobs. I haven't heard anything back at all. From the few jobs that I could actually qualifiably do. So yeah, we're in a little bit of a dire strait. Economics are very fraught right now, to say the least, and we actually currently have no gas, and minimal power, and hastily declining food supplies here in the den. So, yeah. If you happen to know anybody. But hey, onto some more entertaining subjects, at the very least. So, Saturday, I went to the second of the two weddings that I've had planned for like 2 months or so, which is part of why I had the hair done and everything, so yeah, kind of a story. And it was fairly nice. It was a little bit rainy day, but mostly quite good. The venue was very cool, was very, very pleasant. Kind of like a rustic house, kind of maybe not rustic, maybe rustic might be the wrong word. A posh old house, as it were. That was in Hexham, nearby, and we had some very nice food after that, some creme brulee, and I was very aggressively social. For me, anyways, I was incredibly drained at the end of the day. I think a lot of people were, but me in particular. And whilst it was a lovely day, I wasn't just like, what kind of energy do we classify spoons as? But yeah, I was exhausted in more than one way, because I'd gotten maybe 3 hours of sleep, and then I had to get like a 10 a.m. like train, and then drive to Hexham to attend the wedding, and there's a reason for that. Who remembers when my office had bedbugs? Shortly after we moved in earlier in the year. The cold set in, and then they just sort of stopped showing up in here. So we kind of just presumed that they were, gone, that we'd seen the last of them. Oh boy. So I started breaking out in hives recently, which is unusual for me because I have no recorded allergies whatsoever. And I figured, okay, maybe there was like dust around here, or maybe the few bedbug bites I'd already gotten had like introduced something to my system that I had now like acquired an allergy, and all sorts. So just absent-mindedly, I look it up, what the side effects of a lot of bedbug bites are, and it turns out if you have enough of them, you actually can have an allergic reaction to the bites themselves, even if you don't actually have any other allergies. Okay, so then I give my full self a check over, and turns out I have like a dozen to 2 dozen bites all over me, mostly on the arms. I also find out in the process of this that indeed there are additional symptoms, as well as details of people who don't necessarily react outwardly or obviously. And we come to the conclusion that indeed Fuzz has also been getting made a meal of as well, not just me. There is one place that Fuzz and I share a lot of time, together for protracted periods, unconscious, of course. And it's on the other side of this wall, the wall the bedbugs were crawling out from under into my office. Can you see where this is going, everybody? Now, by this point, we had already done a preliminary search, as it was. So we'd yanked the bed away from the wall, we'd found some bedbugs sort of along the skirting board. Most of them seemed to be dead, or possibly just cast off shells from molting and such. So we hoovered that up, made sure there was no sign of anything moving, and pushed the bed back into place. No problem. So we go to bed. Fuzz is a little creeped out, knowing that they're now being made, like, munchies of. And at about 3:30 in the morning, when I have to get a train at 10, I am woken by the sound of Fuzz shrieking. My memory at this point becomes quite hazy because I was trying quite comfortably to sleep. But I was yanked upright, and then Fuzz began hastily dismantling most of the bedspread. And eventually managed to find a adult, very well fed bedbug. crawling across one of the pillows. My pillow, to be exact. So we catch that, and then Fuzz, somewhat understandably, goes on high alert and begins checking the entire bed for bedbugs. We get through the point of dismantling the bedspread, and we yank the bed out again, pull out the torches to try and find any kind of sign, and find that the back of the headboard of the bed is crawling, almost literally, with a ton of bedbugs. So I detach the headboard, and I carry it downstairs, and I place it in our backyard. And now Fuzz is very creeped out and doesn't want to sleep on the bed, understandably. So we dismantle the bed further, and go to sleep in our respective offices on the floor, which is hardwood. I did not get very much sleep, as one might expect, and then I had to go to this wedding. So that was fun. The headboard has been retrieved from the backyard. It has not been cleansed as such, so it remains in a distant location from our bedroom. We have been checking regularly for more bedbugs inside the bedroom, but we haven't managed to find any sign of anything since. We have not had any new bites since. So we're pretty certain that we've caught, or at least isolated, the bulk of the infestation, and we'll not be seeing any more of it. I don't think we'll have to get fumigation involved. I think we can deal with this. Stay tuned, no doubt, for first human being to be eaten alive by bedbugs, no doubt. But hey, that's that. And my last piece of news is that the Bard will be recorded this approaching Sunday, the 26th. So this is the last call for character assistance if you want any help whatsoever building your character, if you are taking part in this recording. Speaking to the patrons, of course. And otherwise, be sure to send me your character so that I know who they are and what they're about when I'm introducing them on the air, as it were. It'll save us a bunch of time during recording if I actually know who I'm introducing ahead of time, that kind of thing. So, yeah. Other than that, onto the schedule. On Thursday night at 9 PM BST, we have more Warframe, followed on Friday night by 9 PM BST's Friday Night with Dead by Daylight. And then on Saturday at 7, we hopefully have the return of Dungeons & Dragon Hats, where our trio might have a destination. That might be asking a bit much of them. We'll find out. Followed, of course, at 9 by the Carousel, playing random games with the patrons. And lastly, for the week, on Tuesday at 9, we have Building Blocks. You see all that blood? We're gonna make a sword out of it. And the videos you might have missed for the week. We have an instance of Dailies by Daylight where Legion is teaching the survivors very, very, very seriously how to mend. And we have an episode of Just the Basics where we're overhauling the power supply and upgrading some iron mining. And on to the questions. So as always, these are drawn from the comments section of the preceding vlog, and if you have anything to ask me, drop it down in the box of text down below. Our question for the week comes from Princess Firefly. What do you find appealing about horror movies? Horror functionally relies upon the human emotion of fear, and fear is a very complex emotion. We can be afraid of things that we will boldly challenge, we can also be afraid of things that we'll happily flee from. And why we fear things is it can be a very primal thing. It can be like rooted in our humanity, or it can be something that is learned, or something that is just, I don't understand this, or there are so many reasons basically to fear, and there are so many ways to fear, but the way that you instill fear is a highly careful craft, and doing it in a movie means that you are having to employ a lot of psychology, a lot of visual knowledge, and a lot of acting chops, basically. Horror, I think, is a great way of really gauging somebody's capacity as an actor, as a director, as a writer, as a composer, and that's me being all high and artsy-fartsy there, but it's relatively easy to give people a thrill or a spook with a jump scare or such, or to make something feel epic with the echoing reverb and everything. And it's so easy to be completely gushy romancy and such, but it's hard to make someone actually be afraid sitting in a movie theater. Obviously, this varies between person to person. Obviously, there's a lot of people that are going to be a lot easier and more susceptible to being made afraid of what's on a screen. People like me have kind of gotten desensitized to a lot of it. Slight tragedy, because I've spent a lot of my time trying to find a movie that actually scares me, and the most I've gotten is squeaked, grossed out. Audition makes the most sense in the course of that kind of selection. But there's also, like, there's so much to look at and understand about horror, and I love it that way. And also, there's a huge genealogy in horror movies, because one horror movie does something then that's somehow effective, and others kind of capitalize on that. They find it, they try to implement it in their own way, they reference each other directly in some cases, and you can take one director who's known for doing a lot of horror movies and you can look through his different movies and find out how these things have evolved, how they've changed this, how they've stayed, how they've changed this, the makeup, that kind of thing. And it is... I could go on for hours rambling on end about this, but suffice it to say, the thing that I find interesting about horror movies is that they are like a ticking clock. You might know a variety of different ways of making a ticking clock. You might shove them together and the clock ticks on fine, but it's maybe a little wonky, doesn't quite show what time it is, maybe lags a little bit behind real time, that kind of thing, or maybe just doesn't work at all. But a really good horror director, a really good horror composer, actor, director, that kind of thing, they can make exquisite pieces of clockwork, and I love seeing those come together. As I say, that's me being high artsy fartsy. And I'll catch you all, as ever, next time.